Please start with injuries, and we'll do the same if you wouldn't mind. Today, of course, there's lots of people in the city talking about the injury to Jamie Vardy. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, he's obviously not available for the weekend, and he'll be a question mark for Tuesday. So, but certainly not as serious as what we thought. At the time, I think initially everyone was looking at his hamstring, but it's not that. So we're hopeful for Tuesday, but a little bit of work to do over the course of the next few days. Papis Mendy's probably out between 4 to 6 weeks, so that was unfortunate for him. And yeah, so those were the two that obviously injured in the game during midweek.
With Jamie, are you happy to tell us, if it's not his hamstring, the nature of the injury? I'm not asking for the full scientific GCSE biology blow by blow, but is it his glute that it's in?
That's exactly it. And I'm certainly not medically qualified to speak on it, but I know it's something that he'll get some work in with Dave, who heads up our medical team here, so he'll stay with him for the weekend. He's much better, I think. Directly after the game, he was tight and sore, struggling to move, but today was much better, moving around. So it'll just be a bit timing really for Tuesday, but we're hopeful he'll be involved.
Good news that Kelechi Iheanacho's in form and available. Is he a consideration for the FA Cup? Because I know in the previous game, the system that you tried involved Harvey Barnes quite a lot in a different position, didn't it? Yeah,
he's been brilliant, really, Kelsey, and you can see him improving all the time. He's working very, very hard, like I said, in training, and then he's taking that into games. And then when he comes into games, he's creating goals and scoring goals. And you can ask for no more. His attitude's absolutely first class. He's a great boy to work with, and I've been delighted with him.
Do you class Ayoze Perez as a possible striker to play down the middle here? So if Vardy is out for, let's say it isn't Tuesday, your options are Kelechi Iheanacho and Ayoze Perez to play down the middle?
Yeah, and like you say, Harvey as well, that was the idea looking in the last game against Wigan. How does he play up there with his back to goal? Ayo certainly has played in that role and position, and he's comfortable when he comes on the inside. So whether he's directly up there or playing just off, he can play in that position.
An injury to Jamie Vardy at his age. He's 33 now. I understand, and I'm interested in your view actually, in Vardy's career when he was a young player, released from an academy and went into the workforce and came to professional football pretty late. As his manager, as his head coach, do you now see that and think, okay, I think I'm going to get a few more years out of him than I would have done had he come through the academy system and played so much football early? Could you reap the benefits from that early employment in his career?
Yeah, I think so. I think that he maybe hasn't so many miles on the clock as such as other players. You see some players breaking into first teams at 16, 17, and they've fantastic career. You look at Wayne Rooney at Derby playing from when he was 16, and in fairness to him, he's still playing, and is a brilliant player. So the likes of Jamie, I think that he comes into it. I can only judge him what I see now. Of course, when he's as a young player, he didn't play sort of professionally, as you say, come into the game late. But if I look at him now, his fitness and his speed and his understanding of the game means that if he can stay fit, then I think he's going to be able to play for a number more years at a really, really high level. So, like you say, 33, but great body and good lifestyle, looking after his body, then players can play on for a number more years yet.
And with that in mind, has that changed, Brendan, in recent years? Do you think you're using Wes Morgan in a way that's getting the best out of Wes? You've got incredible trust in Christian Fuchs, who's again into his 30s. Is that modern science? Is it the professionalism that the players are carrying themselves? And is it actually a change that as a coach, you can look to these players and you can still get really good levels out of them later into their careers? What do you put that down to? Because you seem to have that faith.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed, everyone associates me with the younger player and the player developing. But my theory always is that at whatever age it is, you can improve and develop, whether you're in your 30s or not. And I've always tended to do that with players. And I've a look at the guys here. They're brilliant professionals. And sometimes players can get written off, over the ages of 30, and they get 1-year contracts and all sorts. But I think that, that between that age of 30 and 35, you've got a great asset as long as they lead the right lifestyle, they're professional, and like I said, their understanding of the game is at its peak. So for me, these guys are been absolutely first class, the guys you mentioned, and it's a combination of the sports science and the game and the lifestyle. So professionally, they have a great mentality, and that's always key. And all those guys mentioned are as I said, they give us a great boost to the squad.
Bit of chat about your team in the transfer market in the last few days. Vestergaard at Southampton, a player that you've inquired into. We read and we're told, and within the media, is that true?
There's lots of players that have been mentioned over the last few months, and obviously now we're in January, there'll be a few more. We're looking at options to support the squad between now and the end of the season, in a couple of positions, and centre half is a position. I won't go into names, Ian, but it's certainly an area that, like I said last week, we want to get Filip Benkovic out on loan to get some games and get that experience that he needs. But whilst doing that, we need to ensure that for the remainder of the season we're covered and we still get good strength. So there'll be a number of names thrown about, but we obviously won't speak about any until they're in the door.
How are we finding the market, January transfer market?
Yeah, I think it's always it can be difficult, and you maybe not see too much going on until the last week or last few days maybe, but it is tough, and especially with a squad like ourselves that are doing ever so well. But we don't, like I said, we don't want to stockpile players. It may be difficult to buy the types of players that you want in this window. But certainly going forward, we may look at some loans to support. And like I say, if we can't bring in the types that's going to improve us, then we'll wait till the summer.
Has the Vardy injury caused you to look into the striker position, possibly loan or signings in January anymore, or are you confident in what the medical team have told you that actually that's not something you need to pursue as urgently as if he was out for a long time?
Yeah, I think we'll monitor that. Initially, it looks like it's not one that's he's going to be out for a long period of time. So, and if that's the case, then we don't have that need. The players in that position as well support it. So, of course, if there was anything longer, then we would have to assess that. But currently, no.
Brentford in the FA Cup, I wonder what you think about their style of play, Brendan, actually, because they're doing well in the Championship, where they've been for a few years now. But their style of play, I'm fascinated in your thoughts. So you do your research, your preparation, and you make sure all their players have got all of their detail together. Have you enjoyed analysing Brentford? Because their style of football seems quite fluid as a footballing approach.
Yeah, it's a club over the last numbers of years that have very much been that. I go back to when Mark Warburton was there. Mark always put in place a really expansive style and a creative style of football. Dean Smith went in, and Dean done a fantastic job when he was there. And again, I think it's the philosophy of the club. He came in and done very, very well there. And of course, now you look at them in the last few years. I've enjoyed analysing them because, as I said, I've seen them obviously before, but not in great detail. But they have the courage to play football in the Championship, which is deemed a league that you maybe can't play it, which is totally untrue. That you can play football, you can be aggressive, but still play a creative brand, and they certainly do that. Their positioning game is very, very good. They play in 4-3-3. Their movement is good. They have the courage to play the game from behind, and they're a good side. So it's going to be a really, really tough game for us, and that's what we're anticipating and being ready for. So, but yeah, it's I'm looking forward to going to Brentford as well. It's traditionally one of the Griffin Park. Obviously, this has been the last year there before they move on. So I used to to go there with Chelsea reserves. When I was a reserve coach, we used to play our games at Brentford and Griffin Park, and we used to really love it there. The pitch was fantastic, and this will be my first time back for a number of years. So all in all, looking forward to the game.
I think the Foxes fans are as well, because of terracing, and everyone loves at times going back to a ground terracing in the FA Cup. How's the balance between team selection for you, Brendan? Of course, you had a midweek Premier League game. You've got an FA Cup game that they're a good team doing well in the Championship. I wonder how the balance of how many changes, I know you trust in your replacements, how many changes you make, because you've also got a semi-final second leg next week as well. How's that conundrum for you?
Yeah, I think the key is coming into the game that and picking the team that allows the intensity and energy for the game, but also bearing in mind, like you say, we have a very important game on Tuesday, but we'll have a team that will be very strong, very energetic, and we hope will get us through into the next round.
Good luck.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian, please. Hi, Brendan.
Hi, Miss.
The FA Cup has got a lot of people, a lot of detractors, and we'll see a lot of inverted commas changed or weakened teams this weekend. Doesn't mean people don't want to win it, but a lot of people are questioning whether managers take it seriously. How can people take the cup seriously and put some of the magic back into it?
Well, listen, it is difficult. You know, if you're an elite club and you're working and playing in European football and top end of the league, and you maybe see the cup competitions. Of course, everyone wants to win the cup. But of course, there'll be different priorities for different teams, you know, and it's hard. It's the individual club. It might be an opportunity for coach and managers to look at young players under pressure, but also as an opportunity, like for say a club like ourselves, to go and win it. The club has never done that. You know, it's lost traditionally in 4 finals. So we want to go as far as we possibly can in it, and we want to pick a team that can get into the next round. So certainly all the managers have grown up and Britain understand. But also I think you have a lot of the foreign managers as well come in that they see the FA Cup as a great trophy to win. So yeah, it's just, I think at this stage where it's mixed in after such a busy December and in January, naturally managers have to look at changing the teams, because you're not going to get the same energy if you don't.
I was going to ask you about Griffin Park. I know you used to take Chelsea reserves there, but while you're used to it, a lot of your players won't be used to the dressing rooms, which, let's say, are spatially quite small, very cramped actually. How are they going to cope with that kind of environment tomorrow?
Well, I'm sure they'll be fine. I think that one of the last times I was there, when we were at Chelsea, we actually paid for the change rooms to be done up. But that was Chelsea's gift to Brentford. They'd done the changing rooms so that through Chelsea's cost, and gave something back to Brentford. So hopefully they're still in good order. But listen, you go into the Premier League and there's some small changing rooms as well. So we're looking forward to going back. It's historical ground, and that won't be a problem whether they're small or not.
It should be a great game because you play football, and Thomas Frank likes to play football as well. What have you made of him? Because until Dean Smith left Brentford, no one, or not many people, would have heard of him.
Yeah, I think it's, like I said, people may not have known him, but certainly within football, I met him, and when I'd taken Liverpool across to Denmark, and like I say, you see in his work, he does very good work. I think initially when he came in, lots of young players and people were maybe questioning, but you see the methods, you trust in it, and you develop players, and like I say, the team's very, very well coached. They play a really good positioning game, and that's a lot of work. People think you just put teams out, and when you play that style of football, that it's just players just going out and playing. It's totally the opposite. It's a very structural game. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of analysis. So when I see a team like that play with that courage and that structure, then it tells me how hard the coach is working. So So he's done a fantastic job. They're up near the top. They've got a big game on Tuesday against Forest, but they're in a great position now going into this next part of the season. And like I say, it's one thing with the British clubs, clubs that have been down there. Brentford are a club that dream, I'm sure, was always to get into the Premier League, and they look to be in a great position to challenge now.
You mentioned it. How much does that make your analysis more difficult ahead of tomorrow? Because I don't know Thomas Frank's team, but I would be amazed if the normal front three who've terrorised the Championship start tomorrow.
We just never know. I think that it'll be similar to myself in terms that no matter what the team is, the style doesn't change. So the team can change, the system could even change, but the style won't. They'll still see building from the back as an opportunity, to rather than a risk. Lots of people talk about building the game from behind and see it as a huge risk. It's an opportunity if you break through and get out through the lines, and it'll. And again, I'm sure he'll want to put out a team to get the result.
And finally, from me, you said at the beginning that you'd like Leicester to win the FA Cup. They've never won it before. How important is it for the tournament that a team outside of the usual top five that we know about in Liverpool, the two Manchester clubs, Chelsea and Arsenal, how important is it the Cup has a new-ish name on it? Because not since Wigan, I think in 2013, as an unfashionable team or a team outside of that top five gone on and won this trophy.
Well, I think we've seen when Leicester won the league what it done and what it felt for everyone. It gives everyone that hope. But like I say, for us, it's a brilliant tournament. When we started out at the beginning of the season, we wanted to do and go as far as we could in every cup competition and go as far as we possibly could in the league. So we've tried to hold ourselves up to that. And I think for the likes of ourselves or other clubs, you have to be worthy of that. Of course, Liverpool, Manchester City, like you say, they're brilliant teams and they'll be wanting to fight to win it as well. So, but all you can do is do your best. And I think ourselves, along with other teams, will be fighting to do our very best. Cheers.
Hi, mate. Can I ask you one about resources? I mean, you've talked a lot about this club's development, where you want it to go, and how to compete with the big six, if you like, the traditional big six. Is their advantage over Leicester at the moment that they have a greater depth? Great to see you back to winning ways the other night, but I wonder whether that little dip in form was maybe because you couldn't rest some of the very young players you've got when they needed a rest, which you might have been able to do otherwise if you'd had more depth in your squad, shall we say.
Maybe, but I also think it's just experience as well, and the young players gaining experience. There's no doubt that period was a tough period, and playing Manchester City and Liverpool, that was tough for us back to back, because our sort of plan, our ideas tactically getting into the game, we couldn't quite bring them out because of what we needed to do. And then of course the Liverpool West Ham game, so how we'd maybe want to play, because we were playing within less than 48 hours. But no, it's something that, again, it's growth. It's never going to happen all in half a season or a season. It's just building, and that's what we want to do here. Just step by step, develop the playing style, develop the squad, develop the mindset and the mentality, and suddenly then growth makes you stronger. So that's our idea. But the players will have all gained from the experience, and like you say, you see from the performance during the week, thought we were first class in the game, and attitude and energy and quality of our football. So even in that negative spell, and I know some of the guys were trying to say if I would change, we're going to, our assessments at the end of the season, and any blips along the way, that's there's positives in that, and that's what we aim to achieve whilst we work together.
That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Well done. Very simple. Don't panic, Ian. Don't panic.
Good to see you again. Pardon?